Hello, everybody. This is Brother Gabe, your host for the week for the Christian Construction Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about how to keep Christ in the center of Christmas. All right, everybody. We doing good?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing so good. If
It's Christmas time.
It's
Drinking-
almost here.
Drinking the Kool-Aid.
Drinking
the eggnog.
Maybe some eggnog. I don't know
Eggnog.
eggnog, brother. I don't know if.
What flavor Kool-Aid?
Merry Christmas to the pod world.
What flavor Kool-Aid you drinking these days, man?
Maxwell House. It's my favorite flavor of Kool-Aid.
If y'all only knew.
A purple drink.
If a blooper reel ever gets out on us,
We're done.
we'll have to find another line of work. I'll
Yeah.
just be honest.
Nothing bad, but just
I need to
we're,
find your
just
daughter.
too
we are
funny.
not
Find your
professionals.
daughter.
We are
Ask her
not
about that
professionals.
purple drink.
That purple drink, we got to get that purple drink, man.
All right. Well, today we're talking about how to keep Christ in the center of Christmas, and really, it's just kind of just some separate beliefs, or maybe how we handle things toward the Christmas season on how to keep. I I hate to say this cliche, but it's what is the reason for the season,
Right.
And how to keep Christ in the center. And it probably wasn't hard 70 years ago. It probably was the symbol, Christ, being born. It was probably lost sinners knew that.
Right.
They kept that sacred. But now Christians, they hang up the Xmas on their Christmas decorations.
Yeah.
And it's a big deal. You don't realize it, but it really is a big deal. So I guess our first thing to say is one that we hope you do have a Merry Christmas, because I believe this is the last time we'll see you before Christmas time.
December the 20th.
Yeah. So this will be our last time we get to see you for Christmas. But Brother Michael, what do you see as probably one of the biggest areas of some of the world taking away Christ out of Christmas?
Well, I think some of the obvious stuff is just the commercialization of it. Santa Claus, that's the obvious one.
Right.
Steals away glory from Christ. We have a large children's ministry, and then even in doing that, you try to be sensitive to people and you don't intentionally try to hurt people's feelings.
Right.
I was talking to a child once. They're not a member of our church, but a child whose family had attended our church, and I was talking to the child some time back, and I asked them, I said, "What are you getting for Christmas?" And they started telling me, and I said, "Well, what's your mom and dad getting you for Christmas?" And the child said, "My mom and dad never get me anything for Christmas." I said, "They don't?" And they said, "Yeah, my mom and dad never get me anything for Christmas." I said, "Well, who gets you presents? Do you get presents?" And the child said, "Santa Claus brings all my presents." And this was a 9-10-year-old young boy. He said, "Yeah, my mom and dad never give me anything, Santa Claus." And so I know some people do it. They don't see the harm in it. But if I wasn't a Christian, I probably wouldn't celebrate with Santa Claus just because, I'm getting a little bit of credit for
Absolutely
buying them presents.
These grown men working extra hours all year long for this time.
Man, it didn't work for them.
You
Nobody else
working,
did that.
you working overtime and finding side jobs and cutting a couple extra yards and doing something, splitting an extra load of firewood or something.
Yeah, and some fat man is getting all the
Yeah,
credit.
no. If a fat man's getting credit, it's going to be me.
That's exactly right, bro.
But I think that's the obvious. And then there are some things that some people could say is nitpicky. Sometimes I think the pageantry, if I could say it that way, of Christmas, we go a little too far. But I'm not going to knock that. I just think every person's different. Some people, you know when you've overdone it. If it has become such a burden that you despise Christmas, or that you're tired of Christmas, then it may be that you need to maybe reevaluate the way you celebrate it. I have known people who don't celebrate it. I think that's wrong. Right. I think at some point, no matter how you celebrate it, but I do think you need to celebrate observing the birth of Christ. We all know it wasn't exactly December the 25th, 2,000 and so many years ago. But I do think you got to celebrate the birth of Christ in some way. We know that he died, resurrected, according to the Scripture, but he couldn't
else has a birthday.
Right.
Right.
He couldn't have died had he not been born. And so let's
Right.
celebrate his birth, just as we celebrate his death and the resurrection.
Brother Keith, growing up, what were some things that, as a kid, you might have been hindered from knowing what the real reason of Christ was? Was it real pushed about Christ? Was it either reason growing up in your family, or was there tendencies, a lot of things that kind of just overshadow what it was really about for you?
Growing up, I'm like, to me, it's not even practical, the things that you would make somebody else believe that that they got your Christmas presents. It's not.
Right.
My daddy would always, I mean, he's not giving credit to somebody else.
Absolutely.
He's putting in the hours, he's spending the money.
Right.
That's how we have always done around my house. As far as when I can remember when I was young, and it's not. It seems each year, this Christmas is more and more commercialized. It's more and more about the biggest tree, or what am I getting for Christmas this year, or who is getting me what. But I've got scripture that we'll deal with later, but it's not about that at all. To add a little bit to what Brother Michael was saying, I think some of one of the biggest dangers is letting the commercialization. But I think it's because, number two, Christians have made it so much about them, have made it so much about ourselves, and Christians hardly celebrate Christmas right anymore.
Sure.
Because it's everything with Christmas anymore is all about me. It's all about self.
Right.
It's all about what am I getting, who's getting me what, and when am I getting it, what am I getting them, and it's not supposed to be about that.
Yeah.
Really, I think it's one of the hardest things, most Christians, we might be able to withstand, the whole Santa Claus and this and that. But I don't care who you are. A lot of us, we've struggled with preparing for Christmas.
Sure,
And we
yeah.
let it so
Yeah.
overcome us, like, buying stuff for our kids. And all that's great, but we get so overcome with that.
Yeah. Oh,
It's like we wake up Christmas morning, here it is, and it's all that it's about is opening up what's inside this box.
Right.
I'm thankful I had a good mom and daddy that we never opened up a present without us understanding what it was about.
Sure, yeah.
He would make it. We prayed, as a family, and it was very clear, that first of all, we didn't have to worry about the whole Santa stuff, but it was understanding what everything represented, and I think, it's more Christmas. You need to let your youngins know, and I don't have children, but I was a youngin. So, but I think it's important to let your kids understand why we do what we do. Brother
That's
Matt,
right.
what do you think?
Well, growing up, of course, I was raised in a pastor's home, and Christmas to us, I mean, obviously, it's impossible, I believe, to not be part of the commercialism.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's the world we live in. And to an extent, I don't believe it's wrong to enjoy the commercialism.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
some things involved in it. However, any activity that my parents made us be a part of or had us be a part of at Christmas time, they made sure that the majority of it, if there was going to be anything that we were involved with, it had to have a spiritual aspect to it. It had to have, or if it did not, obviously Santa wasn't ever a part of my life. That's
Right.
not. I don't understand why parents feel the need to incorporate that into their. Santa was never part of my life as a kid, and I don't remember ever thinking, "Man, I wish Santa was a part of my life."
Right.
I never remember believing that he was real at no point in my life. People make this big deal about, "Oh, I had to tell my daughter that Santa wasn't real."
Right.
Scarring my kids and everything else. I never remember believing he was. All I cared was under that tree when I was 5 years old.
Right.
In the end, it's their fault. They've made them believe this.
They've
mom
created
and dad
this-
have to
this-
tell 'em.
And it didn't matter to me if Santa brought it, my daddy brought it. It didn't matter to me one way or the other. It's what I wanted, and I was happy with it, no matter who brought it.
Yeah.
But how much better was it, the joy and the love with my parents that we shared over that? Because, my daddy, you don't look at that as a kid, but he did work hard for that, and he did
Right, absolutely.
labor for that. You don't look at that as a child. But anyway, I do believe it's important. I wouldn't necessarily say you got to forget about everything commercial that the world puts out. There are some things I wouldn't be a part of. There's some activities that I wouldn't participate in. But all of it ain't wrong. You got to use your judgment. You got to use some common sense. I mean, difficult to find anymore. But use a little bit of common sense,
One of my picture of
and
Santa.
use that common sense. It'll go a long way. And like I said, if you're a parent, my parents aren't perfect. They weren't perfect. They're not perfect now. They tell you they aren't perfect, but they did a phenomenal job of, if we went to a parade, they made sure we went and seen a Christmas play.
Yeah.
That wasn't about a Christmas Carol. Not that that's bad. Wasn't about the Grinch. Not that that's bad. It was, a depiction of Christ, the birth of Christ.
Right.
And anything that we did, they made sure to outweigh by, hey, this ain't that bad. This is good. We enjoy this. But this is what it's really about.
Right.
And really put the preeminence on
think-
the Lord.
I think one of the things that when you get into the commercialization of it, the Santa Claus aspect, it creates unrealistic expectations.
Right.
You get a child that has this goal, and that's that one thing that they want. What about if mom and daddy can't afford it? Well, it lets the child down. And then when the parents do get serious about, Jesus really did come. He really did die for your sins. Well, you told me Santa Claus was real too. How am I supposed to believe this thing about Jesus?
Right.
And then on the flip side of that, from the adult perspective, your child wants this one thing. What if you can't afford it? What if it's not within your budget? Well, then this is where it beats down a lot of Christians, is when you fall into the commercialization of, well, I've got to get this present. And what you said, once the presents are open, then boom, reality sets in. Now I got to go pay for this stuff.
Right.
And one of the things the Lord's blessed me and my family with is our Christmases, we've never put stuff on credit cards.
Right.
We've rarely put stuff on credit cards at all. But we've never put stuff on credit cards for Christmas. And that's one of the things that I think has helped us to enjoy it more, because we didn't go out and break the bank. We didn't go out and spend money that we didn't have. And I think the Lord blessed us for that. And our kids know this is what mommy and daddy can afford. This is what they got us. And we just try to teach them to be thankful for that. But like you said, before we would open gifts, presents, and we have a tree, we have decorations, we got the lights around the house. Our kids love that part of it. We've so ingrained in them that this is why we do it, to make sure there's no mistake. I mean, our kids are walking through the mall and there's little children lined up to see Santa. My kids are laughing at them and making fun. I don't know if that's right or not, but my kids are like mocking them,
Well, if it's
I
right,
feel
but
like
you
it's
sure
funny.
enjoy it.
I ain't never rebuked them for it, I mean, I felt like this is like 1 Kings 18, they're over there cutting themselves wanting to see Santa, and my kids are saying maybe he's asleep and he can't hear you, So,
Pre-adventure.
yeah, so, but we make sure Christ is in the middle of everything. We don't celebrate Santa Claus. We don't, he's a joke to us.
It's a lie.
Is what it is.
You're
It's just
lying
it's a
to
lie.
your
You're lying to your children. And so, and just like a couple of years ago for Christmas, one of the things that my kids did for me, they memorized a larger portion of Isaiah 9 and quoted it to me. They'd done it one year, Isaiah 53. And so they've done that, and that tickles me to death, thrills my heart. And so those are the kinds of things that, some may do it big, some may do it small, but I do think you got to celebrate it in some capacity.
I agree. Brother Keith, you got some scripture you were going to read. You want to go ahead and do that?
I guess I have to go back to what I was saying. It is so easy to treat and to get into the Christmas routine, and Christmas becomes mechanical.
Sure.
Because you keep going, and you keep my family wants this, somebody, whoever it is, wants this. I've got to make sure that they get it. So you're putting in the hours, and you do this every year.
And the
knowing
pressure
that it's
starts earlier and earlier.
Absolutely. You're
Now it's
working
starting in
months
October
advance.
now.
It's and so you do this so many odd years, putting yourself in a routine where Christmas has become mechanical, and you know that I've got to do this, or this person is going to be disappointed, and now you're just like you said, your Christmas is all about living up to the expectations that are set
And
before
at the end
somebody.
of it, there's no joy in it.
Right? No, absolutely not. But and so Isaiah chapter 9 and verse number 6, he Brother Michael just mentioned this, but the first part of verse number 6 says, "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given."
Amen.
And there's two parts of that verse. We talked about celebrating Christ. And Christmas, it is a day that we celebrate the birth of Christ, or Christ's birthday. And the second part, it says, "Unto us a son is given." So on this day, we have been given the greatest gift of all, a gift that meant more to God than I'll ever know. a gift that meant more to any of us.
Yep.
And it was the gift of his son. And then we become mechanical. What am I going to do for somebody else?
Right.
When God did that for us.
Yeah.
And it should be more about what I'm doing for what can I do for somebody during this Christmas holiday. And I was talking to somebody earlier, and they go to our church. I hope she won't mind that I'm saying this. She does know that she does watch the podcast, but about every 2 or 3 years, they take a step back. Now they'll put up a Christmas tree and all that, and they'll have some Christmas around the house, but they'll adopt a family for Christmas.
Amen.
And do something for that family over the Christmas holidays. That takes you at what am I doing for somebody else? It takes you out of the mechanicalism. It takes you out of keep on doing for everybody, or keep on what am I getting? And it takes you out of all that, all the routine stuff, and what can I do for them? How can I make myself available to whatever they need this Christmas holiday? And that's what it's all about. We receive something on this Christmas, the day that we celebrate the greatest gift of all, and we treat it as what can I get out of it? But we got something that day. We're supposed to give.
Right.
That's what we're supposed to do. Christmas is all about giving. I enjoy it. That's my favorite part. Everybody asked me what I wanted for Christmas, and I'm so old I don't even know.
He's so old he don't even know.
I'm serious. I'm
I
getting
mean,
old
you'd take an
fast.
AR-15 probably.
I don't want, as long as I got my hunt rifle, I'm good.
You can send that to.
Well, if he don't want it.
One of the things that we try to do as a family, and I know that a lot of y'all this is your first Christmas being married. This is your second. And Keith is probably his last being single, maybe. I don't know. So one of the things we try to do is everything that we do, even in the decorations, from the decorations to just everything, to the tree, to the gifts, everything, we put Christ in it. And we don't just say that. Like, we explain to our children, this is why we do this. This is why we do gifts. This is why we put up light. And I try to make sure they understand. And I'm not saying the Bible says to put lights on your house. I'm just saying I want my children to see that. And so I'm not saying I make something up, but I'll tell them that this is why we do this. You know, if nothing else, we do all of this because we're celebrating the birth of Christ. If that's the only explanation you have, that's a good one. We do it because we want people to know that we celebrate Christ in Christmas.
Right.
And so some people refuse to celebrate it, or maybe they downplay it to an extent. Brother Matt talked about some of it. People don't like it, but you need to embrace it. It is one of the last, I would say it's the last most Christian holiday that is most celebrated.
Absolutely.
And so I'm not saying we take it back. It's never really been taken from us, but we ought to embrace it because it is something we can celebrate. Well, I can't rightfully celebrate Halloween, and I can't rightfully celebrate some of these other days, but Christmas I can, and I think it's our responsibility as Christians to embrace it and make it ours and make sure people know.
I think there's a lot of truth in that. With Easter anymore, we love Easter. We celebrate the Lord's death and resurrection. But in 2019, we're going into 2020. There's nothing in this world about Easter that has anything to do with Christ.
Absolutely.
Anymore.
Right.
The outside perspective, the world's perspective, has nothing to do with Christ.
Right.
Whereas Christmas, whether it may be growing thinner and thinner as the years go on, it's just the world we live in. That's the times we live in. And it gets less and less about Christ, but that's up to us.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If it's anybody's fault, we ain't going to blame the world for acting like the world. We need to blame ourselves, blame the church, blame Christians, and Christmas, as you said, is pretty much the last holiday that has any resemblance to the world about the Lord.
Right.
And how important I do believe for us to, try to hold that up, try to promote that,
Absolutely.
About who it's still about.
One thing about Christmas is I feel like it's a great opportunity because I don't know how to explain it, but it feels like everybody's willing to give or to listen.
That's right.
And, and I feel like it's a great opportunity. We're so overcome with going to Walmart to get our stuff, but there's people who, brother, and I know you remember this because me and you were together. We were at Walmart going to do something, and there was an old man, and we're Christians. We're two preachers walking around Walmart, and this old man walks in, and he had no intentions of buying a thing. He walked in and he went to Emmanuel Baptist Church where the preacher got saved, and he was handing tracts and he said, "Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas." And because it's Christmas time,
People
you
will
don't-
take it.
And just grab, and he's handing out gospel tracts. And we opened it up and we went and back and talked to him and let him know that's where our pastor got saved at, and that's you don't realize, there's a lot of
It's an open
opportunity.
door.
Yeah, it is, and it's
It
about
really
that.
is.
There is that time of season where people's willing to give and to be appreciative, and you don't realize you take advantage of stuff like that.
And just because other people misuse it, mistreat it, and maybe celebrate it wrongly, well, Lord, don't let them steal away what God has given
Right,
us.
right. Yeah.
And celebrate it, show people how to celebrate it the right way. It is one thing that we can partake of, embrace, and celebrate, and show people how to celebrate the right way.
So what's some traditions that, as a parent, you're the only parent at the table, that you,
Whoa, made me feel
for
old.
now,
Well,
my old brother
Don't
Gabe,
look at me. Don't be looking at me.
what's some things that you do to keep your kids' minds on? Because, it's easy for us to wander, our minds to wander into the commercialism, but it's easier for them. They're weaker vessels, and, it's much easier for them to get more focused on the present, on the gift.
Right.
So, what's some things that you've adopted, you do?
one of the practical things we do is that we don't just get them everything they want. And as silly as that may say, well, how's that going to help? You'd be surprised with your children. We don't just get them everything that they want. There'll be some things we get them, but we don't go. We try to do really, really good just because it is a time of year when we can, but we don't go overboard. And I think that's important. That way it doesn't become a time of year when, all right, we know if we ask for this and this, we're going to get it. And that way it don't get their minds so fogged up. But then from a spiritual perspective, just like on Christmas morning, we're reading the Christmas story. This time of year when we sit down as a family and read our Bibles together, we focus more on Luke chapter 2. We go to Matthew, or we go to these different places in the Scripture where the birth of Christ is mentioned, Isaiah, and different places like that. And so those are things that we try to do. And again, we'll anything maybe if there's a program or something like that we can watch that incorporates Christ in Christmas, a cartoon, or it might be something silly, but if it's celebrated it the right way, VeggieTales Christmas, yeah.
Some good Charlie Brown.
Yeah, a little baby zucchini in a manger, right? So, but anything like that, we're not afraid to do it,
Cherry tomato.
We have it, yeah. And so we have all those things. Of course, all of us decorating the tree together. That's a family tradition. Then Daddy, I'm the one that puts the star on. That's the last ornament that goes up, and it's just we have a little Christmas village, stuff like that. So there's little things like that, and it's fun for them. But the main thing is keeping it all around Christ. Anything that we can take and say this is the reason why we do this. I really believe that's important in making sure that the kids know that it's about it. And then as far as from the gift perspective, not just what we do for them, but we want them to buy something for each other. And so we'll go out with them, let them buy something for each other, and make sure they really put thought into it. Let them take their time and know what each other wants. And that way they know. And we make a real big deal out of that day, because that is one of the parts of it that shows them that it's not just about them. It's about doing something for others. And you do it for others because Christ did something for us. And so, there again, why do we give presents? Because the wise men brought presents to
Teach them
Christ.
to be
All of
Christ-like.
this, every bit of it, we try to
Teaching
incorporate
them
the
to be
Scripture.
Christ-like.
That's right, yeah. So that's, and I think even in the little things, some of it, people may think, well, that's silly, or I wouldn't do it, and you may not. You may do something different what I do. But whatever you do, I think it's important. Keep Christ in the middle of it. Even in the little things, do that. My wife will also, they'll make cookies for people up and down the road and our neighbors, and go down there and give them a little Christmas tin with a gospel tract and stuff in it, and it's got cookies in it, and people just love it, eat it up. Like y'all said, people are receptive to it at this time of year. Yeah. So why would you not? Why would you not do that? And that's one of the things that my wife and kids do together while I'm working. They out giving away cookies. Wherever we're recording podcasts, and they're making cookies. So. Yeah, they're just keeping Christ in the middle of it in every little part of it that you can. I think it's important.
I think at a young age, your parents can either teach you to understand the importance of Christmas, or at a young age, you can get so overcome with the mess that you lose sight of Christmas until either you get saved
Right.
or until you lose something.
That's right.
Because, like you said, your kids are understanding that, it's about family, it's about the Lord, because one day they're going to get up to our age, and one year mama's not going to be there, one year
right,
daddy
yeah.
might not be
That's
there,
right.
and it's understanding it's the time where we thank God for the things that we've got, and appreciate what he's done for us and what he's given us. We start looking at the family he's blessed us with, and the ability to give to others like he gave to us.
That's right.
And if you're not careful, you let things go, and then your kids grow up and they're all concerned about themselves, and it's a danger this time of year.
And I'm not going to 17 different family get-togethers either.
No.
That's a whole nother podcast.
No. And I ain't going to no Sunday parade.
I ain't going to no Sunday parade to get a cavity.
No.
One thing that I for somebody that don't maybe celebrate Christmas that does listen to this podcast, one thing I've already mentioned, I'm 25, fixing to be 26, and it's coming fast. 2019 is come and gone. One of the things as I look back, like I said, for somebody that don't celebrate Christmas, I am so grateful as I look back at each Christmas.
Yeah.
At the things that have been consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We as a family have always gone out on usually the Friday after Thanksgiving, and we pick out a tree together, and we all decide on a tree.
Yeah.
My family's getting bigger. It's almost become impossible to get everybody together all at the same time. But we make it a point to spend time with each other.
Sure.
And so, if you teach them early on, they'll be grateful for family when they grow up and they look back. They'll be more grateful for family.
Right.
As I'm getting older, I realize the value in family.
Sure.
And I'm thankful for those years it didn't mean nothing when I was 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
But I'm 25 now. I'm going to be doing this when I have my family, and I look back and I won't always have mom and daddy.
Yeah.
These are the memories that I have of them. Use it to spend time with your family, because it don't as everybody gets older, it gets harder and harder.
Well, we know the attack that Satan's put out on the home.
Absolutely.
And how people don't value the home, they don't value family, and so you're exactly right. If you can take this and use it as an opportunity to increase and strengthen that home and increase people's value and perception of family, then that's a great thing to do too. It makes you want to do it with your kids and your family too.
The world, the flesh, and the devil is out there to do anything that it can to keep you and your family away from the true meaning of this holiday. And that's about Christ, Him coming and being born and living for us. And I hope if there's anything that we've talked about here that might have helped somebody, and that's to make sure we keep our mind constantly on what matters. The reason for the season is Christ, that He come, and that we're grateful for that. We'd like to remind you that this is a ministry of the Love Valley Baptist Church. My pastor is Barry Philbeck. I want to make sure you're watching the guys over there in the High Grounds podcast every Monday morning before the crack of dawn with Brother Andy Wells, Brother Poindexter, and Brother Aldridge.
Yeah.
Brother, you want to give those dates this week?
Yes.
For our meeting?
One meeting that we've got coming up that our church helps with is a sister church of ours, Bethel Baptist Church in Charlotte. Brother Paul Moss is the pastor. That starts, that's in about a week and a half from now. That's December the 30th and 31st, and then January the 1st. That's the New Year's Jubilee at Bethel Baptist in Charlotte, North Carolina. There'll be different preachers, all that. And if you look it up online, you'll find it. And then our winter revival meeting is January the 12th to the 16th. We start on that Sunday. Brother Keith Voles will be preaching all day. And then we go Monday through Thursday. Monday night at 7, and then Tuesday through Thursday at 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock with a meal served in between at 5. Different preaching every day. Probably won't have the same preacher preach twice. I mean, just a bunch of different preachers lined up, great singing. We have a great time. We put people up in hotels. So, and if you're interested in coming to it and you need some accommodations, call me. You can call our church office, 704-730-0075. Speak to myself or a
You don't wanna give
secretary.
your personal
So you gonna give your
number,
cell phone number
Yeah, I'm
out?
not going to give that out.
We'll give it out,
Might
brother.
not be a good idea to do that. So, but we're looking forward to it, and we would love for you to come be a part of that in
Absolutely.
January at our winter revival meeting.
Absolutely. Well, I believe this is the end of this podcast, and from all of us here at the Christian Construction Podcast,
Merry Christmas.
Christmas. Y'all have a very great
Feliz
holiday.
Navidad.